Hey, so how do you soothe a temper tantrum? I know, strange question, and you know what? I asked that question because we are experiencing a global temper tantrum. And every time you have an emotional reaction, you're having a temper tantrum. Now, the reason I say this, bear with me here, is that's your stress response. That is your stress response. Your stress response is a survival mechanism. Your neuroplasticity is survival. It is all about survival. I'm going to say this, that nature, life force, God consciousness makes no mistakes. And I say this because we live in a culture that talks about conditioning. We live in a culture that talks about programming, and we are a very, very reactive world. And we victimize ourselves consistently by believing that things have been passed on to us and we didn't ask for it. And I say this with all due respect and love, because the fact is that nature doesn't care how much money you make. God is not here, isn't working through you because God cares about how much money you make. What God consciousness, what the life force, what nature is all about is the preservation of the species, and that life goes on. There's a continuation of life. Everything that man experiences, in this case, the horrible wars that we're witnessing and knowing about or experiencing, everything that man has inflicted is capable. We have the ability to reverse this. But the fact is we've got to understand that our emotional reactions are simply temper tantrums. And how do we soothe that? The thing is like if we're looking at a child having a temper tantrum, you're not, from what I've witnessed and my own experience as well with my children, you don't throw something at them and hoping that it calms them down. You actually find out what's going on. You seek to find out what's going on, and you find a way to actually soothe that. You find out what they need. I remember my youngest was 12, and he was having a really horrible time of it. It was over a few days. And I didn't know what to do. And I finally just sat on the floor. And I looked at him and I said, I need you to tell me what you need. I don't know how to help you unless you tell me what you need. And that's really what it comes down to when it comes to your body, when you're having an emotional reaction. So your stress response is survival. Your emotions are instincts. They are instinctual and as a means of protection. They are coming from the past. This is what epigenetic memory is. So there could be roots in the past. But what science has been able to determine is that there's a purpose to this throughout nature, because plants have the very same thing. So if a plant all of a sudden has a year where it's living in a drought, the environmental conditions have changed over time or within that certain season, that things will change within the system in order for the next generation to be able to survive something similar, so that all gears will be activated should the circumstances come up. So we live in a world of triggers, meaning people, faces, expressions. Your brain has been wired since prior to conception, before you were ever conceived. It happened within the ovum and the sperm. Again, prior to your conception. It's been shown, again, from the 1930s and 1940s, Dr. Barbara McClintock, who eventually won the Nobel Prize for this discovery, which is that the DNA has transponal elements, also known as jumping genes, that have the ability to relocate along the DNA strand without human intervention or human influence. It doesn't, it just happens naturally. So this is happening prior to your conception. It is forming, it's creating the wiring for your brain before you were conceived. And then once you were conceived, your brain mirrored that the experiences that your mother was having. So this is not about what mom did right or wrong. This is simply the emotional reactions that became imprints and affected the DNA at the level that it was going to serve you in this lifetime. Now, as you were growing up into the ages of 6 or 7, your prefrontal cortex isn't even online. So that means you are sensing your environment and now having emotional reactions that are further wiring your system for future reference. So nature's not about, it could care less if you're thriving. What nature wants is for you to survive. Like I said, nature, life force, God consciousness isn't attached to what you achieve. It's that you are able to live. You, as the human, have the ability to pay attention and anchor into what is going on. What do I need right now? So that you can better regulate yourself. And the reason I share any of this is because we have this belief that if we just talk nicer to ourselves, if we stop comparing, if we stop doubting, this mindset isn't enough. And people will oftentimes use essential oils to relax themselves in order to quiet the symptoms, okay? There's many facets to stress. It's not just, although it always feels like an emotional reaction, it's far more than an emotional reaction. And so just using something like an essential oil to slow down that emotional reaction isn't really addressing what's going on in the system. And as I mentioned, there are triggers. People's faces, eyes, they've narrowed it down to the pupils, the shapes of pupils, just the slightest, eyebrow raise, anything could potentially trigger your brain before you ever realize it. So that's what makes it hard to know, what do I need right now? This is the reason why you want to use oils, so that you can slow these processes down to become more responsive. That's really what it comes down to, but you've got to work with the two of them together. Nature does not make any mistakes, and it really is about, how do I help my system regulate itself so that I can actually live well, so that I can actually experience life? How can I tap into this energy, which is my emotions, because everything in your system is responding to the energy. So even if you think, let's just say you're having a moment of doubt, and you stand there and you talk to yourself and you go, I don't need to be doing this. I just want to think this way. I want to, I'm going to say, this is happening. I am doing this. But you're not feeling it in here. You know what I'm going to say to that? You're out of integrity with yourself. And now you've just stressed your system even further. Because you know that you are not actually thinking, you know that you're lying to yourself. And I've heard people talk about this. Well, just lie. Your brain doesn't know if you're lying to you. It doesn't know that you're not. It doesn't know the difference between the truth and a lie. Bullshit. I call bullshit. I said it. Because you know. This knows. And I don't mean that lightly. When we can harmonize our heart and our brain very easily, because there's nerve cells in the heart that's located nowhere else in the body. And as long as your system in your consciousness is aware that you are not being honest. See, honest means to honor with regard. When you are not regarding yourself with honor, when you are being dishonest with yourself, it registers here and it adds the next level of stress to your system. Oops. Woo. Here we are. Lost my light there for a moment. Anyway, I wanted to jump on here and say that because what do you need? What does your heart need? I'm going to finish it out by saying this. And that is, what if all health issues is simply a symptom of being lovesick? And by asking yourself what you need, it's the first step to loving yourself, to harmonizing this, so that you can align your energy with something more than survival. This is how we begin to rewire the brain. And when you include oils with something like this, it's amazing what comes of that. So there's a couple of ways that you can actually work with me. One is I've got a program. It's basically what you get. It's no appointment. You don't have to even sit with me. I mean, there are one-on-ones. You can have a one-on-one. You can work with me, because ultimately shifting our beliefs and really distilling our beliefs down. I mean, it's peeling back the layer, peeling, and I can be an accountability and guide with that. Would you also get, specific oils for your system? So it includes oils along with the coaching, because while I can teach you all about oils, ultimately getting yourself to let go of beliefs that are no longer serving you and really harmonizing your system is where I can help you one-on-one. However, that said, if that's not what if you're not ready or willing to do that just now, you can get yourself a personalized session where you provide me with all the information, fill out an assessment and provide me with information, and then I give you the feedback along from audio, video, transcript, and as well as oils. That's also available to you. And then again, also coming up on the 11th of November, I'm hosting a Belief Blueprint Women's Wellness Workshop that you are invited to. That's free, and you're welcome to join me on that as well. So those are what's currently available, and I would love to serve you in any way possible to help resolve the issues that beliefs are interfering with and creating even more inflammation in your system. So let me know how I can support you. It might be that I have somebody that I know that would be really good for you. So let me know how I can answer any questions that you may have with regards to health and really helping yourself live well and slowing down the inflammation and really harmonizing your system. Okay? Take care. Thanks for being here, and I will see you very soon.